Hey everybody, I thought I'd just give a check-in after the disastrous week last week in the garden and show you how things survived or didn't, and then give you a peek at what everything looks like after all this rain. This is the Profusion Cherry Bicolor Zinnia, which is just amazing, and I've started taking little seeds off of it to start for next year. And then I sort of spruced up the pots here a little bit, put some new here. This is newly planted. The squirrels or somebody got to it right after I planted it. It was full and really cool. And so this is sort of what's survived the transplant. And I don't know the name of this, but this is so cute and it has done really well. You know, I've said before, some succulents love it here and some of them don't. And that seems to be a really good one. I've had that for almost a year now. And then the Mrs. B.R. Kant rose up here is, new this year. See if I can climb back here and show you. It has just bloomed, even though it's a new little baby rose. It has just bloomed and bloomed. It's not going to cooperate with me all summer long, and has really filled in nicely for being there for, gosh, maybe 9 months. So I'm real pleased with that. And then you can see on the driveway I've got some little things started. I've got so much basil. I went ahead and collected some seed and thought at least I could get a little bit out of that. And then I planted some zinnias. These are mostly just seeds I already had. This is Zinnia Uproar Rose. It popped up in 2 days. You can see I've planted a bunch more zinnias that haven't even come up. This came up in 2 days and has been up for a week, and none of these have made any shows. And then here I've got a pipe vine. I collected seeds this year. They're going to take a little while to come up. And here I've collected seeds for native milkweed, and I had one pod that came true, and but they'll take a little while to pop up as well. And then these are my Echinacea pallida little starts that I've lost most of them. This is sort of what's left, and I'm hoping I'll put them in the ground. They seem a lot happier once you put them in the ground. I was going to wait till it cooled off a little bit. Well, here's the sign of the site of the greatest disaster, the sprinkler not turning off for 24 36 hours plus. And so some things have really bounced back and some things haven't. This Amistad salvia looks pretty bad, but I don't think it's dead. I think if I chop it back, I think it's going to be okay. And then I do think some of my unexpected victims are, I've got this wonderful Pretty Parasol's coneflower, but I'm not sure this one's going to make it. And there's another one back in here that seems to be kind of not going to make it. This pink salvia here that looked fine, and then it wilted really hard. And I thought, well, it just couldn't take the water, and it's bounced right back. And then the same thing for this Salvia leucantha. This whole edge all wilted down and looked terrible, and now it's popped back up. There's a few little yellow leaves, but it's popped back up. I've camouflaged the buddleia, dead buddleia there. There's Mrs. Doubtfire. She needed to be in the picture. Hello, pumpkin. And I've planted this beautiful pot, and it really has turned out to be one of my favorite little vignettes with the little tutor, I think it's called, and the gomphrena and phlox and vinca in this fabulous pot. And so that's ended up being one of my favorite little things. I think it looks really pretty next to this crinum lily. I bought this big one in the front is a white one. It hasn't bloomed. I just moved it. I've had it for years and it was too shady. I was hoping it would bloom this year, but it hasn't. But it's such a beautiful plant. And you can see next to it, there's a pink crinum lily. Ooh, trying not to fall over the sprinklers. There's a pink crinum here, and it has leaves that sort of flop over a little bit, but this one is so upright. I just think it looks gorgeous. And so I'm real happy with that little save. And then I reseeded a few zinnias. You know, most of them had been washed away in that flood, but a few have popped up, and I've replanted, reseeded a few. And same here. This is just an absolutely amazing daylily. This is that Paul Voth, V-O-T-H. And I just planted it this year really late in the game, and it's just gorgeous. These zinnia seeds seem to have just washed away, so I've actually ordered more of that kind because I really wanted to try that one out. So I think it looks pretty good for having had that terrible flood. I just went to the Houston Garden Center and found some 30% off little zinnias. They looked pretty sad, and I sort of trimmed off all the dead parts and saved a bunch of seed. And I thought I would sort of flesh this out a little bit by our little frog and by our pond. And then these things just did just fine out the furthest. This is really the best view, I think, of the garden. I just think it looks really beautiful right there. And I think this side, even in the shade, you know, it's got some interest, even though it doesn't have a lot of things flowering back in there. We've got that purple potato vine, sweet potato vine, and then of course cousin it, this amazing grass. So I think that's done really well. One of the things I did, you know, it just got too hot to have my little succulent theater out in the middle of the gravel here. It was just too hot. And so for now, you know, I moved it up, and some of it even just into the shade on the patio. But now I've moved it back out. Everything pushed up against the house like that will only get a couple of hours of afternoon sun, late afternoon sun. And so I've pushed my little theater. I've sort of made two, and I've put my favorite pots on this side because they're the ones I see the most. But I think that looks pretty cute, and then I'll move it all back into the middle when it cools off, just another month maybe. And then that's my wonderful begonia still. And then I thought we could check in on this little project got going here. Let's see if anything else. So this little leaf I showed last time just completely dried up, but it's got a whole little plant and some little roots. So I've sort of tucked it down in because it doesn't have any more nourishment from that leaf. It's used up all the goodness of that leaf. And quite a few, it's been interesting to see. Well, you can see this one actually took some vermiculite with it, but they sort of have a little bit of red on the end, and that seems to be the sign that it's going to maybe send out some roots. See how the very end of that is a little bit red, and I've sort of tucked it so that it won't have to go very far to get to that vermiculite. And I may sprinkle that with a little bit of water. I haven't quite decided. This rose I trimmed a whole lot off of, but it's still, I need help and a really big ladder to get up there, but it's still giving me a few flowers. But I tried to take a lot of weight off of the front because it's just starting to lean forward and over the path. One of the things I wanted to point out, you know, I've got the that wonderful pink rose there that is nearly wild, and it's really amazing. And I swear, you know, I just haven't had to deal with black spot hardly at all on this rose. And I mentioned that last 2 or 3 videos ago, and then I realized, you know, this is Souvenir de Saint Anne. It's kind of a single-ish pale pink. The blooms don't last very long. Just in the opposite, that nearly wild those flowers last forever. These do not last very long at all. But you can see, I don't think I can find any black spot on this rose, which is just crazy for Houston. And I looked today. My weather station says it is 99% humidity outside. I think this Salvia Big Blue is looking really pretty, but I'm having my same old problem that it's flopped over. I've got this support trying to keep the Peter's Purple Monarda off of it, and I think I might need to prop that to keep it off of the Monarda. So, you know, some of it's standing up nicely and some of it not so much. And then this is Souvenir de la Malmaison, which again in the spring has much bigger flowers, and they're sort of cupped shape, but they look really pretty, and I've got some new growth here, so I'm real happy about that. Now, when I went on my daylily craze, I bought these. They're called Yulong, Yuulong, and I just didn't put them where they were getting enough sun, and so this week I dug them up. I put them in a pot, and I'm going to slowly move this pot. They're in shock right now from me digging them all up. They still had good roots, so I'm going to, over the next week or two, sort of move them slowly further and further into the sun. And I did the exact same thing here. This one's called Storm Warning, and the direction said, you know, put it in a little shade. And I put it in a little shade, and they just, you know, they look 100 times smaller than the day I bought them, and they were bare root when I bought them. So I've moved them, and again, I'll move those further and further into the sun. And then this wonderful thing, this zinnia looks so great, and it's got a bunch more. It's going to really fill out in another week or two. It's sort of smothering this rose bush down here, but I'm kind of letting it, because that rose bush didn't look great anyway. This is where I dug those some of those daylilies up. I added another vinca or two, and I follow a YouTube garden person called Gulf Coast Butterfly, I think. I'll have to check. I'll put it in the description. She's wonderful, and if I didn't watch her videos, I wouldn't have vinca. She loves it. I even bought her favorite color because I loved it too. I wouldn't have coleus. I've never grown it before. She really likes it, and I loved it in her yard. Hello, Rachel, by the way. Oh, here's Miss Stoutfire here. Hello. And then here's our other little neighbor kitty. He's our stray. That's Tuxedo Joe, and he's pretty sweet, but he's very skittish. And then this really pretty caladium in its super cute pot. I love that pot, but it makes it hard to keep it watered because it's such a tiny little pot. And then the begonia looks awesome. And then I moved some things around. This caladium in this pot is so beautiful, and I had it tucked way back. I had it tucked way back here, and you really couldn't see it, and I thought that needs to be, it's such a showstopper, it needs to be front and center. And so I moved it there yesterday, and I think it looks really great. Here, hello, it's still, of course, it's been raining after my big problem with the sprinkler system. It rained 1.5 inches just yesterday, so it's better, but it's still so muddy. You can see the mud back here. And then this is flopped over. I chopped some of it off just in a fit of, I got new choppers and I just thought this has to go. And so I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I'm leaving it there. And then this Kufia I hit with those choppers, and hopefully it'll come back nicely. One of the other things that seems to have suffered really badly, and I just heard about penstemons on Gardener's World. I was watching an old one, and they were like, they don't like to be wet. So it is blooming, and this one looks okay, but this one looks pretty bad. So I'm going to trim it back. But I think that is because of the water. And I think that one's all right, this one's all right, there's one over there. But I think if I just trim it back, cross my fingers, hopefully that was just water damage, and it'll come back. And then the same here, I had this beautiful fire spike that was gorgeous right here, and then the closer you got to the sprinkler problem and the wetter it got, the more it wilted and it looked really, really bad. But it's popped back up. I left it. You can see there are a few little dead leaves in there, but I just left it and crossed my fingers, and it really has recovered. It's still blooming. I'm so happy about that. Now, Mrs. Doubtfire is right underneath, which I kind of forgot was there until this mess. Everything sort of collapsed because of the water. There's a little olive tree in there. I had it in a pot for a long time. It was never happy. I put it out here, and it just struggles. It's getting sort of crowded out by these two bigger things. So one of my thoughts, I think I'm gonna move that. One of my thoughts is, I've been thinking about taking this out, so maybe I'll take this out and put a Texas redbud, which is a native Texas plant. It's a beautiful blooming, sort of smallish, 10 or 15 foot high, multi-trunk tree that will bloom in the spring, and it is a butterfly host for a Texas butterfly. And so I'm thinking about doing that, but I'm not sure I have enough sun for it. But it's possible that tree will come out and that'll come out. And I put a little bigger Texas redbud in there. There he is again. He's such a cutie pie. And the ivy geranium looks really good. And then I think, maybe I'm imagining it, but these look better, I think. It seems to be a little bit less yellow. I've been fertilizing them once a week, so it might be in my imagination, but I think they look better than they did. And then because I moved some things around, I moved the caladium over, and then I've been chopping this back all summer. It looked terrible. These are Bidens, and they really sort of fluffed out, and they're blooming, and I put them over here with a little bit of sun. I felt like they needed to be seen. They were tucked way back here. And so now today I bought these zinnias today, and I just popped some in there. I think they're so pretty, and I thought if that puffs out and has 12, 15-inch high hot pink zinnias, then I might go ahead and be ready to put those in the sun in a month or two. We've had so many creatures. We've seen frogs and toads and lizards, and I've seen a couple of different kinds of butterfly. We've got hummingbirds coming through now, and so it's really been, I'm feeling good about the wildlife that have come through the garden, and I'm not talking just about this little guy right here. Hi, Tuxie. He's cute as a button, isn't he? Well, thanks for taking a little tour of my garden after the disastrous flood of this. I'm gonna walk back around so your last view is prettier than the mud pit. Of course, I love these grasses. Gotten so pretty. I think this Salvia leucantha is getting ready to bloom in the next month, but I think when it dies in the fall, it dies down in the winter, I'm gonna move it so that this grass can have even more space. It's still getting crowded over there, and oh, I think it's beautiful. I just love that grass. Here's a nice, pretty view to leave you on. Thanks for spending some time with me. Have a great day, y'all. Bye-bye.